Now, the select dropdown has options that have everything to do with selection, which you probably guessed by now. Some of them are really obvious, like select all, selects the entire canvas, deselect, deselects. Let's get another selection again. Just most of these work when you have a selection. Reselect is something that if you just deselected, you can go to reselect and it'll grab the selection that you just had. And I'm going to be honest, I don't think I've ever used reselect because the other way to do it is just to go back in your history palette or, press undo. Invert selection inverts the selection. So if you have it like this, it inverts it. So it goes to something like this. So instead of this guy being selected, the background selected. So let's get out of that right there and let's go here. Select all layers is an option that has nothing to do with the active region, but has to do with, look at the layers palette right now, actually selecting all of the layers. And I have to say it's a little confusing that they put select of layers and selecting active region in the same dropdown because conceptually they are two completely different things. Deselect layers. I think you're going to figure this one out on your own, guys. Yeah? Did you get it? Did you guess what I was going to do? Yeah? Find layers. This basically just goes to the find layers palette because there's all sorts of things up in the layers thing and it jumps you right there. So rather than doing it exactly where you'd expect to do it, you can do it through some convoluted dropdown because sure, why not? Isolate layers, that isolates all of the layers that you have selected, and then you can click this to get out of isolate layers. The other way to isolate layers is to click this right here. So who's doing it through the dropdown? I don't know. Color range, we're going to use a different image to demonstrate. So if we have something like a green screen and we go into select color range, this is something that I do actually use from the dropdown, one of the few from the select dropdown that I find useful. You can basically go in and select everything that's green. And here, let's just adjust it. There we go. This works kind of like the tolerance setting on the wand tool, same sort of thing. You can localize the colors. And generally what I aim for is getting this white area. The white area is what's going to be selected. This is a mask. It's a different form of a mask. A mask is a channel. They're all the same thing. We know this by now, or we don't because we're watching the videos out of order. Whatever. I try to make this so it's not too white because if we go too white, then we end up clipping them off. But if we go just barely white enough, we'll generally get a good selection. So I am going to first, or actually what I'm going to do is I'm going to turn this into a mask and then I'm going to invert the mask and I'll do that here, okay, I'll just hit Command I as I normally would to invert the mask. So you see it went from this to this. And then I'm going to create a new background just so we can see what's going on right there. So yay, look at that. You can see this selection is absolutely awful. And that's because it was a very low res JPEG that this was coming from. You can see it's such a low res JPEG by this square, the artifacting back here. But one thing that we can do is we can go to refine mask. I just right clicked and just shift the edge, feather it a little bit, and maybe even smooth it some. And it's a cheat, but it's still a big difference between this totally unacceptable thing and this only mostly unacceptable option right there. So yeah, that's one way to get rid of a green screen. There are other ways, better ways, but select color range is kind of a good way to go.